If I'm on my phone sometimes at night and I'm just scrolling and scrolling, like I start and I'm reading something.
That's
when
definitely
I'm
happens.
reading, I start to like fade out.
You'll
quick,
fade out.
For sure.
quick.
Yeah.
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 That's
well,
not necessarily a nap though. I'm more thinking about like
Because that's
night.
when you're tired.
Yeah.
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 when you're tired, that adenosine built up in your system. And when you move your eyes from side to side, that actually shuts down a brain center called the amygdala, which is a fear and threat detection center.
Oh.
So let's use an example. It's all line of tools like panic or trying to make a trick. You're afraid, right? There's often fear. I mean, it's like makes sense. You get
scary.
Yeah, you get damaged.
Yeah.
So, one thing that existed for a long time and I thought was total quackery is this thing called EMDR, eye movement desensitization reprocessing, where some therapist named Francine Shapiro came up with this idea that if the patient would sit down in a chair and recount some trauma or some fear and move their eyes from side to side like this, that somehow they could move through it. And people would ask me about this stuff. They're like, you study vision, you study stress. And I was like, this stuff is crazy. It's quackery. Somebody made this up. They'd say, oh, it coordinates the activity on the two sides of the brain. It mimics REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep. I thought, this is nuts. It's nothing worse than this idea. And then I ate my words because I was in science, we review papers. We're sent papers. You have to review them and critique them anonymously. And I got a bunch of papers to review that were focused on eye movements, not on trauma or fear or anything like that. And what they saw in these papers is they observed that when we move our eyes from side to side, a brain area called the amygdala, which is involved in fear and threat detection.
Okay.
It's kind of universal neural real estate for fear, be alert, all the panicky stuff. That area was suppressed. And it turns out it makes sense because when you move forward through space, whether or not you're skateboarding, if it's self-generated motion, you're walking, you're running, you're cycling, you're skateboarding, as you move through space, the visual images are going by you like this, but you don't experience them as a blur. Just like if you took a picture on your phone and you moved your phone, it'd be blurry, but you have what are called image stabilizing eye reflexes, and there's a well-known system for this. That involves the inner ear and the vestibular system, all that. Anyway, when you move your eyes from side to side, it mimics forward movement. And it seems that forward movement, or just moving your eyes from side to side, quiets the fear response. And this probably, and I don't know because I wasn't consulted at the design phase, but it probably is involved in our evolution of being able to move forward in the face of danger, right? And so this is now an approved clinical tool. They sit people down, they have to move their eyes from side to side, and they verbally recount some traumatic episode. It doesn't work for everybody or every trauma. There's some nuance there, so I don't want to oversell it.
Sure.
But as a simple tool for reducing fear of flying, fear of the handrail, fear, be smart about your choices. But if you want to reduce your level of fear, you can do this for 10 to 30 seconds, just back and forth. Your eyes do have to be open and it looks ridiculous, but moving your eyes from side to side, and it's actually takes a little bit more effort than you might
does.
think, but it does tend to quiet your system. The other thing that can calm you down really fast is something that was actually discovered in the 30s. My lab has now picked up with this, and we've done a whole set of studies looking at how breathing can adjust our state of mind. When we get anxious, our breathing changes. When we get calm, our breathing changes. But also if we change our breathing, we can get more anxious or more calm. There are two really useful tools in this regard. The first is what's called the physiological sigh. So if you're feeling stressed out, do 2 inhales through your nose, even though the second one is a shorter one. So it's, and then a long exhale through your mouth. Your lungs are 2 big bags of air, but they actually have millions of little sacs of air called alveoli of the lungs. Those, when you get stressed, a lot of the reason you get stressed is because those flatten out like little balloons and you can't offload carbon dioxide. And high levels of carbon dioxide in your bloodstream are actually a big part of the stress response. It's not the only part, but it's a big part. When you do that double inhale, those little sacs reopen, pow, like kind of blowing open a balloon. They don't explode, but they reopen. And then the long exhale, you're able to offload the carbon dioxide.
Oh, wow.
So the fastest way to calm down really fast is that panoramic vision, and then just, and then you'll notice you just calm way down really fast. And
yeah,
you
yeah.
actually do this right before you fall asleep. You don't realize it. A dog does this before it takes a
Actually,
nap.
I do take a big deep breath sometimes.
And
But
so,
not maybe
Not the twice thing, but just one
Right.
one
deep breath to open the lungs up. you
right.
know?
And in sleep, all people spontaneously do these physiological sighs. When we start running out of oxygen, we do 2 inhales followed by a long exhale. You see this even when people aren't conscious. Some people have sleep apnea because they're carrying a lot of extra weight. None of the people in this room have this phenotype, but they're, when people are obese in sleep, they've got a buildup of carbon dioxide in their system and they're actually oxygen deprived. Their brain is becoming hypoxic. You're starving the brain of oxygen.
Oh, wow.
This is a huge part of, some of the health issues related to obesity and breathing
You
issues.
got the CPAP machine and
The
all that
CPAP.
stuff.
And so physiological size you can do anytime you want. But when you're stressed, if somebody says take a deep breath, actually it's 2 deep inhales through the nose followed by a long exhale.
Long
One or
exhale.
2 of those and you will be reset
Amazing.
very, very fast.
Okay.
And then the last one I would say, or, because I could go on forever with this.
Love it.
And I handed this off to a couple skateboarders that reached out about this, is you can also raise your stress threshold. You can, let's say you're the kid or the person who is not super aggro. You're not a cardio, right? You're kind of timid, right? Chances are you're either smart about not wanting to damage yourself, right? Or it could be that you have a heightened level of anxiety. So how do you reduce your just baseline? How do you become like Jerron? This is really what this whole podcast is about. How do you become more chill?
Yeah.
Which is what you want to do is deliberately put yourself into a state of heightened alertness. You want to deliberately increase your adrenaline. There are a couple ways to do that. You can take a really cold shower. You can get into an ice bath. When you do that, there is no way around it. Your system will be filled with adrenaline.
Oh, yeah.
And then you learn how to control your breathing and relax. Or if you don't have access to a cold shower or an ice bath, you can do what's called tumo breathing, which is actually hyperventilation. And I'll do this since it looks ridiculous. I'll be the canary in the mine. This is actually a lot like Wim Hof breathing.
Okay.
So it's very different than the physiological side. And the idea is to actually get yourself stressed and then to be calm in a state where your body is filled with adrenaline.
Interesting.
It's a self-directed stress inoculation. And so I'm not going to do the whole thing, but it would be 25 or 30 of these type of breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth like this. You'll notice your body starts to heat up. That's adrenaline release. You're literally heating up, okay? And then after 25 or 30 of those, you are going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to feel agitated. That's adrenaline trying to get you to move. You want to stay still, be like Jerron, and then just exhale all your air, sit for about 15 to 30 seconds. You can time it if you want, and try and just be relaxed with all that adrenaline in your system. Then repeat 25 or 30 breaths, exhale, relax for 15, 30 seconds. Then do it one more time, 25, 30 breaths. Exhale for 15 to 30 seconds, and then comes the fun part. You take a big gulp of air, and then hold, but relaxed. And what you'll notice is you can hold your breath a lot longer than you normally would. Why? Because the impulse to breathe actually comes from carbon dioxide, and you've blown off a lot of carbon dioxide. Now, absolutely critical. Do not do this in water or a bathtub.
Right.
At least 4 people have died doing this.
Oh, wow.
Because they did it in a pool, and then they were like, I'm going to dive underwater for as long as I can.
Oh, and
Morons.
hold their breath.
Yeah, well, now they're definitely holding their breath because they're dead. So they're gone. So don't do that. Don't do it while you're driving. Be smart.
Okay.
But then what happens is you take that big, deep breath, and don't push to the point of blacking out. When you feel the impulse to breathe, breathe. But what you'll notice is you're very alert, but very calm. And that's the perfect state for neuroplasticity, for learning. It's as if you took 3 shots of espresso, just the right amount of theanine, perfect night's sleep. You just landed the nollie heel flip.
Yeah.
And you had the best night ever on the 9 Club.
Right.
You're right there.
Right.
And you did it all with respiration. And I recommend doing that 1 or 2 or 3 times a week. And what you'll find is you will start to discover all sorts of interesting aspects of how you work. You'll notice, I don't want to do it. You'll notice there's like this barrier that you're kind of resistant to adrenaline. You're definitely not cardio. Okay. Right. He loves adrenaline. He lives in that zone. Right. He when cardio at his skateboarding best and now on the bikes and everything he's doing is like, that groove is a place he craves. A lot of people, they're not comfortable entering it. But then once they're there, they're like, this is pretty nice, because adrenaline is amazing. Adrenaline not only makes you more alert, but it also is what activates your immune system. We always think, oh, stress crashes your immune system. But no. If you are stressed, you don't get sick. But afterward, when you finally relax, then you get sick. So the reason is, when you breathe like this, adrenaline actually tells your spleen to release these killer cells that go and combat different types of infections. You heal faster. And this stuff is not hocus pocus. No reference to the H treatment. That was terrible. A long time ago. That was pretty good. I mean, Hensley. Hensley made that movie. It was too long. It was just too long. That Hocus Pocus was just too long. Sorry. Also, that team had like 900 people on it, right?
8,000
Yeah.
dudes.
H stood for huge street. It was like
Huge street.
You know?
Yeah, no doubt.
But if you do this, right, there are papers that are published, one published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, looking at all these immune markers and anti-inflammation and stuff. So activating your immune system is good. You can do it with cold water. You can do it with these breathing. So I've just been trying to throw out a kit of tools.
Yeah.
So get good at sleeping.
Okay.
Have a real-time tool, as I call it, for bringing your stress level down. The double inhale, exhale, the panoramic vision. Increase your stress threshold. Right? Danny doesn't need to do it.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Guys like Clay don't need to do it. Right? But if you're facing a milestone and you're having a hard time getting past that, get yourself more resilient. Get comfortable having a lot of adrenaline in your system and being calm. It'll also prevent you from getting triggered. What you'll notice is people will say things and you'll still get the release of adrenaline, but you're like, oh, I can make choices here.
Right.
And this is what mindfulness and meditation has worked so hard to try and create for people, but it's been very mystical. It's like 20 minutes a day, sitting meditation, third eye meditation, the gap between stimulus and response. Very mysterious, very hard to access. These are physiological mechanisms to access this. And then, sleep, learn. And, there are some other tools out there. You asked about nutrition. Like, everybody's different.
Yeah.
I don't know how big the plant-based thing is in skateboarding right now. I'm an omnivore. I like meat. I like butter. I would say if you're overweight, try intermittent fasting. Limit your feeding window to, like Mike. All right.
Yep.
He needed to lose weight. So rather than tell him, eat this, don't eat this, I was like, look, start eating at 2. Can you do that? He's like, yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
I'm like, cut that off at 10. He's like, cool. I'm like, eat whatever you want in that time. But ideally, it's mostly meats, vegetables, and not too much sugar. Drop the alcohol.
Yeah.
I mean, he's 60 pounds down now for 2 years.
So great.
And I will say, and I hope he doesn't mind this, that during the pandemic, we were actually getting on the phone for a bit and doing that type of tumo breathing.
Oh, wow.
At the beginning, not because he was stressed, but because it's the kind of thing where people tend to not do it. They drop it.
Right.
It's just not, because it's more of a leaning in thing.
Yeah.
It's not a reflexive thing to do. And so we were doing it for a bit just for accountability.
Right.
Hope he doesn't mind me sharing that. And Jacob Rosenberg too.
Okay.
And then we kind of split off and just kind of stopped doing it. And so there are periods of time in my life where I'll do more of it or less of it.
Okay.
But keeping your immune system tuned up, keeping your stress threshold better. This is what I think is the key to being healthier longer. It's about having enough energy, but also being able to sleep.
Right.
It's about stress is not going anywhere, right? Life was not more stressful 5 years ago, 10 years. Life is not more stressful now. Everyone says, oh, stress is only to protect us from these saber-toothed tigers. Look, 100 years ago, people still cheated. They went to the next town. They never came back. They dumped people. People got broke off. I mean, it was just, it happened. So stress is this universal way of making us feel like we want to move. And this is a way of being very deliberate in how you make choices when you are stressed. And that can save your life. It can also make you a better person, better skateboarder, makes you less reactive, all this stuff. Wow.
Where is that like button, right? Is it right here or right here?
Just a little scroll coming down the bottom.
It's
Subscribe.
over to it's on your
It's on my
left.
right? It's on
No,
my
on your left.
Hey,
Yeah.
hit that
there.
button right there.
Right there.
Right
Yeah,
there.
please.
The like button's kind of like in the middle there. It's like we're kind of.
Oh, it's like
there.
right here?
Kind of.
Like
yeah,
right
and
there?
The subscribe's like over to the left.
Like right over there. All right.